And down here in the bottom left-hand corner, we have the red Zerg player. Probably going to have his work cut out for him here, as he's going up against a very strong opponent. He has secured himself that spot. Is he going to be able to get it paid? Ladies and gentlemen, it's Symbol. And he's facing off against his opponent in the top right-hand corner. Hailing from the Team Evil Geniuses, blue Zerg player Jaedong, who is very, very well-suited for ZVZ.
Yeah, was convincing against Game and Monster. Monster, again, had a bit of a surprise factor, but Jaedong, under pressure, held it very well. Made sure to go ahead and just sacrifice his third, defend, and just keep his advantage that he had in the first place, and just follow up with a counterattack. He kept attacking his opponent's third and never ever allowed him to expand. And then in the second game, he just kind of crushed crushed Monsters all in. We'll see what the plan is for Jaedong here. Seems to enjoy Meta play in the mid game. Will he go that route? Symbol, whenever we used to watch him in his EVZs, he seemed to be more aggressive in terms of all-ins, a lot more than a lot of Zerg players.
Yeah, he does tend to have that aggressive playstyle about him, but Jaedong, well, he always opens pretty safe. We haven't seen many 15 hatches out of him, and now he's going to be actually going for one. We will fix the scoreboard after this game, guys. Of course, Jaedong is not a Terran player.
Nope. It'd be cool if we saw him play Terran. Actually, I think a lot of people would rage if he played Terran coming from Brood War straight in StarCraft 2.
Yeah.
Well, maybe. I don't know. It might suit him with his micro-oriented play. But at first, everyone would be like, why are you changing races, Jaedong? Be a little bit on the upset side.
It would be really bizarre.
Yeah, because I think, was it Bisu? I don't know Brood War that well, but I think it was Bisu who wanted to go into Terran when he first came to StarCraft 2, and people
He was saying that the playstyle was actually a lot more similar to Brood War Zerg.
Yeah, and people were pretty aggressive about that. They weren't too happy.
Sorry. But, yeah. I actually remember reading about that like, he was going to be
Because it's the Protoss god, and Jaedong
sorry.
is the Zerg god to some people, so. That being said, we do have the follow-ups into certain tech. We have the spawning pool gas thrown out by Jaedong, and no gas quite yet from Symbol. There are 3 to 4 queen builds where you don't go gas that are pretty nice for Zerg players, but for the most part, I really feel like you need speed. It really allows you to capitalize on your opponent's mistakes and allows you to defend if you make a mistake as well.
Well, Symbol at this point has not taken any gas. Jaedong, on the other hand, has got his mining for a little while now, up to 60 gas already. We'll be working on that speed momentarily and have some aggressive options open to him. Symbol, on the other hand, has got to play it pretty tight, pretty defensive.
There goes the second queen, queued up right away from Symbol, just staying on minerals only for the moment. And as I keep watching the game, the ticker keep popping. I just, why is he not going for gas? There are the 4 gas plays that have fallen out a lot. I mean, it's a little bit earlier than back in the days of Peninsula build, but you get your speed queued up, you move into layer tech really quickly, and then you just get evolution chamber upgrades, and you just move really quickly up in tech. And you have such a great mineral pool that you can keep with queen production and you just defend around your natural. But I just don't like to play overall, but Symbol could, of course, prove me wrong.
You'll have to see what he opts to do with this playstyle. He has queued up an additional queen that's going to take him to 3. Really queue a 4th as well. That would coincide with the Ice Fisher build.
Man, that build is so old. I remember when it was like the best thing ever invented when it came out at the time because it changed everything. Overlord picked off a little bit there, won't be doing too much damage, and Jaedong moving straight into a lair. What is the plan for Symbol? Still no gas, hasn't moved to his third. It's really hard to go for a quick third. And ZVZ, you just die to speedling. So there we go, finally falling up into a couple of gas. I want to see where his tech routes will be leading from here. Checking into his drone count though. This is the positivity here of him going for this. He only has a couple more drones, so really not that big of an advantage it looks like. He just has extra queens on the field. There we go, finally following up to a roach warring. Grabbing his 2 guesses now, finishing up. And now will he only pump roaches and just get really aggressive?
Jaedong just saw the exact timing of those gases, and he has speed, which is overwhelmingly the advantage that we've seen why players don't go gasless anymore, because it's so difficult to get scouting information without throwing away overlords. And Symbol, relative to Jaedong right now, is very much in the dark. He hasn't seen anything since his natural went down, and this pool and the pool and the gas, which were very early. Take a look at Jaedong on the other hand. Just poked in, he's like, okay, I have your exact gas count. You have 2. You have a spine crawler, you have a roach worm being constructed, you have 3 queens. He saw the exact gas timings here. He knows so much. Symbol right now is playing in the dark.
Lair now being queued up really late here for Symbol. Popping out a few roaches for defense, but still droning up behind this. And the Spire Tech, again, as mentioned by Andrew, is on the way, but being in the dark, he might not be prepared for this. He will have Evolution Chambers now finally on the way, so he can get the Spore Cars up, but it's all a matter of him wondering if he needs to actually get them up. He has a lot of Queens, so he may feel a little bit defensive. In terms how many are coming out?
This is going to be so difficult for Symbol because he has no possible way to scout this Spire. Just simply put, the location of it, until Symbol's lair tech is complete, this Overlord will not make it far enough. Lings will never make it inside if they don't have speed. It's just far too easy for Jaedong to just keep this Spire hidden, and Symbol is going to be playing a guessing game right now. On the other hand, Jaedong, seeking to decide right now with this Overseer, will get an exact timing of the lair, actually. He even drops the Changeling, slips it around, he's looking for tech, and he's not going to see anything in the main because there is nothing, but he'll make his way down to the natural expansion, and as he dies, he sees an Evo Chamber and a Roach Warren.
The good thing for Symbol's build here is if he actually defends against these Mutas, doesn't take any damage, he'll have a really strong composition afterwards. He'll have +1 Carapace, +1 range attack, and a ton of roaches available where he'll be able to go for a direct counter attack. It just comes down to the defense, and he has a decent amount of Queens. He has a Transfuse available as well. So we'll see what the plan is. You need about 5 to 6 Mutas to actually snipe a Queen without actually losing a Muta. 3 of them actually do a lot of DPS attack into you. Mutas are shown though. Immediately, this allows Symbol to throw down some Spore Cars, and now suddenly I'm kind of liking the position he's in.
Small attention to detail here. We saw Jaedong split. 3 Mutas headed towards the Overseer, 3 Mutas that spawned in the natural. Why waste time traveling to the main when that Overseer is already dead? He sent them instead to get started on another Overlord. A small victory there for Jaedong. He will be moving out across the map now after killing those, and there's very little anti-air here from Symbol. This third is guaranteed to go down as he has no mobile anti-air besides these Queens, which he needs to protect his main and natural.
Roach is just being popped out here for Symbol as much as he can. With this third being killed off, it's making it more and more harder for him to move into the mid-late game safely with a decent economy. He's going to have to do some kind of damage, and he knows it. Roach is just starting to come out. There's a huge group now spotted by Jaedong, and Jaedong should start creating units right meow.
This is a textbook defense, or a textbook build order response, rather, out of Jaedong on how to abuse when your opponent does not take gases. He's now going to be chasing down these roaches, getting what damage he can. Simultaneously, Ling's going to deny the third that, well, right now, simply put, doesn't exist. Only 2, 3, not enough units there ultimately, but he needs these Lings at home in order to defend his own third, which he's sending back right now.
Alright, so Jaedong pulls his drones back. The roaches do make their way across. With that +1 Carapace, it makes it a little bit easier for them to tank that Muta shots, because the Mutas actually don't really do that much damage to roaches. Dealing with the Lings right away, splits up his roaches so he can actually focus on the hatchery. Now we'll be pulling the Mutas away from his roaches that are attacking the hatchery. Nice play here. Moving straight on in, he's going to try and focus down a couple of Queens. He has reinforcements on the way as well, but he is going to get that hatchery. It's looking like it's going to be close. Yeah,
I think the Mutas now arriving should be able to clean it up in time. The question is these reinforcing roaches. Probably will be able to finish the job, but now roaches are spawning for Jaedong, and what I think is going to happen, Symbol's going to invest a little bit too much into killing this hatchery. He's going to lose all these roaches because of it. Take a look at resources lost right now. Double for Symbol as to Jaedong. That is a lot of money that Symbol is going to have to make up with this third base, but right now, I don't know that he has the units to hold it. He's got 4 Queens to deal with the Mutas, which actually should be able to do it, but how's he going to deal with these roaches?
I don't know, man. It looks really scary. He's going to need some Spine Cars. He won't have enough units exactly to go ahead and hold this off. He does have the upgrade advantage. He will have +1 Carapace over his opponent's +1 melee or attack range. So that's going to be quite helpful, but again, very hard to hold this. He's going to have to use his Queens to lay some money transfuses. We'll be trying to second down the Spore Crawler, but will be transfused right away from Symbol and his Queens, and Jaedong grouping up, realizing he might just not have enough units.
He lost a couple of roaches there. That was real nice. Jaedong definitely wants to get in some damage here. If he can kill this third, that's certainly ideal. And luckily for him, there's very little information that Symbol has. This is his only Overlord out on the map right now. Because of course, those Mutalisks. So he can't position his units effectively without knowing, well, he just can't. He can't know where the units are.
Jaedong constantly churning out units.
Oh, there we go. He gets a little image.
As his passing lands are about to finish up. So when the Infestors get out, it'll be a little bit easier here for Jaedong to get an engagement. Being a nice fungal, but Symbol as well moving towards his own passing land at the same time.
Overlord has been spotted by Jaedong, and that's the end of any information that Symbol might have as input. Now he's completely in the dark. It looks like it is going to possibly be a dual-pronged attack. Jaedong leaving a couple roaches over here. Now there's enough for Symbol in order to hold this off, and he's got his third. He's ahead on the Infestor. He's also researching +2 right now.
Oh,
Symbol's not in a bad spot from here.
Yeah, Jaedong decided to go ahead and go for a 4th hatchery. He knows he can't push in. I was actually reading the production tab wrong. Jaedong doesn't have infestors. He's just now getting into infestors. So with his opponent popping out infestors, it's actually really hard for him to engage into this. He may poke and prod, but if he pokes and prods way too much, suddenly a fungal hits and he just dies off. So I like the choice of going for a 4th.
Yeah, and it's quite a fast 4th base. This will allow Jaedong to catch up on the small deficit he's currently sitting at. He's also got Burrow on the way, which I don't believe we saw Symbol research yet. It has not been started. So that's going to make Jaedong's Infestors significantly more potent on the battlefield.
Well, we do have units coming down the ramp. There could be a chance there for Jaedong to get an engagement. Symbol coming out, though, and landing a huge fungal. Look at that concave over everything here. Jaedong needs to try and escape, and he will be doing so. The Mutas will try and pelt away on the roaches, but they have so much armor, really strong here. And he just be able to just keep walking across the middle of the map.
Symbol's looking on point right now. I mean, Jaedong had all the right responses to what Symbol did, but Symbol just made it not matter. Those counterattacks, losing all those roaches, but then defended beautifully. We'll see if he can finish it off here with a dual-pronged attack. Jaedong is up in supply right now, and these infestors are chain fungling so well, but the 4th gets taken out. A lot of roaches at the 3rd right now. If Symbol can snipe this and escape, a fungal growth is going to trap the roaches, though. Symbol taking a lot of damage. He needs to get these roaches out of here so that he can survive this counterattack that is certainly imminent.
Symbol doing a good job of spreading out now, not to be landed with a fungal, but the roach count is really strong for Jaedong. Should be able to hold this off, but man, he's lost that 3rd and 4th base, and now suddenly he's lost a huge economy. Drones might get sniped off as well, as Jaedong's trying to multitask here. He has gotten a huge amount of roaches out, though. He's been constantly slamming that roach button.
Look at Jaedong's unit count. 6 infestors, 33 roaches, 6 mutas. Symbol, on the other hand, has next to nothing. Only 13 roaches and 4 infestors. Now, his production tab over the next few minutes will be churning out units. Jaedong, on the other hand, is going to be extremely short-changed on money. He's got to rebuild both these hatcheries, and it's really going to come down to what Jaedong has on the field versus what Symbol can make in the next moment or two.
How many infestors does Jaedong have? I know he puts out a lot, but I think a couple got snipes. Can we feel the unit tab?
He is at 6. Symbol is now at 8.
I think he created 10 when they first popped out, so he lost 4 in that engagement, but he's got some more energy on the way. He's moving into a Hydralisk den. If he can land some nice fungals when he gets into engagement, he'll have a lot of DPS available to him with the Hydra transition. But Symbol's done so as well. He's got his own Hydras out. Both players seem to be matching pretty well when it comes to tech now, as the upgrades are starting to manage out, and most players are finally getting their lair tech all out.
Symbol's just, I'm very impressed right now with Symbol's play. It's reminding me a lot of his series versus Shine back in spring of 2012. It's just, he's very crisp, very clean, and doing what he can, even with his opponent making very, very good calls, because Jaedong hasn't really done anything wrong in this set that has been too major, but Symbol has just done a great job at attacking at the right places, right time, getting in the damage necessary to establish the lead he has right now.
4th base on the way for Symbol. We did have Jaedong double expand after the initial push happened from Symbol, so he will have his hatcheries a little bit quicker before his opponent, but Symbol looking pretty strong in army composition. His upgrades right now, can we check into both of them really quickly? For Jaedong, we currently have 2-1. And looking over into Symbol, we currently have 2-2 at the moment, so a nice little upgrade advantage available for him. We do have the Hydra range available for both players soon, and it looks like we might have an engagement pretty quickly.
Yeah, Symbol does want to fight. Jaedong's going to loop around the side with some roaches, actually, from both sides. If there's any way that Jaedong's going to get himself back into this game, it is with such a style. This is actually how we saw Lenok take down Life in game number 9 when he was incredibly far behind. Burrow's up top, so those roaches survive, while the roaches in the 3rd, are going to be doing some damage. Mutalisks are actually killing the roaches of Symbol right now. Fungal growth gets completely whiffed, no damage there. Lots of roaches and hydras on the high ground, but Jaedong has infestors with this army. Symbol does not, taxing his multitasking. Jaedong currently at about 300. Symbol trying to do what he can to catch up.
Jaedong looks like he might have an engagement here. He doesn't land the fungal. He does the fungal. He's getting free damage in here. The Hydras are just pelting away on the small group of units, and those Hydras again will tear through a nice composition if they just sit there. And it looks like at this point Jaedong cuts that army in half pretty quickly. He'll lose some roaches, but he retains a lot of his Hydras.
Infested Terrans going down absolutely everywhere. Hydras are in the front of the army for Jaedong. That's going to spell a lot of very fast damage. And Jaedong is down to 130 supply. Symbol at 160. The Hydras doing what they can to kill the Infested Terrans, but he's losing a lot of units to Robin.
All the investment charges do fall off, but you're right. He dropped down on supply to 144, but he's only a good 10 behind Symbol, actually. Keeping up with this aggression down at the third, constantly keeping Symbol, forcing him to keep units down there. And Symbol, again, grabbing another train of units and moving to that fourth base. He wants to kill it off, but it looks like Jaedong is actually there to go ahead and meet him up. Lands a fungal, and now suddenly small groups of units are getting picked off by Jaedong.
And suddenly the supplies are equal once again. Also, Jaedong, during all this, has managed to slip in +2 carapace, which is only 80 seconds away from being completed. So with that, when that's completed, Jaedong's going to be in a really good position because he actually just held off that attack with inferior upgrades.
Yeah, he's been doing a good job of keeping his infestors alive, not throwing them away. Spine Crawlers will see these roaches coming in and give headway to Jaedong. Jaedong doing his best to try and catch them as they run up, and a Infestor pops out though, so he's able to land a fungal and catch them up right away on the ramp, and they will be killed off immediately.
Notably, no counterattack by Symbol during this push. That's a lot of times what you want to go for. If you're going to force Jaedong to bring his whole army back into his main base, you want to send a strike force to the fourth or to the third and get some damage, and a couple roaches swinging the third now, but this is super late, and Jaedong's going to have no problem dealing with this. That was an attack that ultimately did nothing for Symbol except lose a lot of units.
Well, he's doing a good job of getting a few drone kills before he died off. He right-clicked on a few of them. Oh, he's actually left roaches down here at the third, so he can't have any counterattacks up there anymore. Nice play there. One that might bite him in the rear a little bit later on. Good 5 to 6 roaches that's missing there. Nice save of the Queen. And Jaedong is moving up in supply, 179 to 171. Both players macroing their rears off here. We'd like to have a 5th hatchery at the top left corner and one in the bottom right corner for both players.
This has been quite a game on Cloud Kingdom between Jaedong and Symbol. Guys, if you're just tuning in, it's been incredibly back and forth. Jaedong had an early lead, Symbol took one afterwards, and now we're in a position where both players have the same upgrades, have the same unit compositions. The Infestor count is all but dead equal as well. So, I mean, the only thing we can say really that's different between these guys is that Symbol has invested higher into Hydralisks, whereas Jaedong has opted for a greater amount of roaches. He's got a 10 roach advantage, whereas Symbol has 12 extra Hydras.
And that comes in engagements. If Symbol can land really good fungals to the point where the Hydra range comes into effect and the roaches can't get on them, then of course they're going to tear through those roaches. But if the roaches get a chance to actually get up on top of the Hydras, they kill them way faster than Hydras can kill off roaches because they're just way weaker in terms of can't take any damage.
Yeah.
So it's an engagement thing. It comes down to the infestor control from our players.
Well, it's going to be close. Symbol's opting to be the aggressor here, which is certainly, the more risky of the two propositions, because he is more apt to be caught in chokes, such as if he were to push up this ramp. Fungal Growth could trap his entire army. Going to be falling back. This puts his Hydras in the back. Remember, Jaedong invests heavily into roaches, so they're going to be fast. He catches 2 infestors in the back. Suddenly, Symbol has less infestors than his opponent, actually by a lot. Jaedong made 6 extra infestors during that whole push. Infested Terrans are going to slow things down. Getting Symbol into position, he actually snipes the 4th and is running into the 3rd. Jaedong now has to push up his own ramp.
Oh wow, such a weird position here for Jaedong. Has to defend his own ramp from the outside. Does put some infested Terrans down here in the bottom right corner from some of the infestors he popped up. But again, Symbol's got the high ground. He's killed off 2 bases. A good thing for Jaedong is he did pull off his drones back, but he's going to go ahead and go for it, landing some nice fungals here. The roaches do move forward, but the Hydras are just doing so much damage on those groups of units that were stuck on the ramp.
The supply is plummeting, but the health is low for Symbol. Suddenly, Symbol just plummeted 30 supply in a mere second, is supplying behind it with 24 roaches, but has cleaned up the units. If he can capture these infestors, this game could entirely be over, but Symbol has no energy left.
Jaedong forced to retreat, but again, he is behind 50 supply now, while at the same time Symbol is grabbing a base in the bottom right corner. Jaedong is forced to GG. Symbol taking game number 1.
Oh, wow. What an incredible series set there to kick off game number 1. What a game.
Yeah, Symbol just played legit.
It was so back and forth.
So much multitasking from him as well, constantly sending units. And sometimes when you send too many units, too many small amounts of patches into different areas, they get caught off, they get killed off by better groups of units and a defender's advantage, and you just find yourself being really far behind because you've lost so many small patches of units. But yeah. Symbol was always really effective with them, and Jaedong just kind of was trying to defend with, I guess, 1A syndrome, because I felt like his army was always trying to defend small patches.
But
altogether.
He did a pretty good job of it. A lot of it came down to, at the end there, Jaedong followed Symbol. He saw an opportunity, which was an opportunity, because Symbol had Hydras that are slow. They were in the back of the army, and we were yelling about it. I think I was yelling about it. That the roaches are fast, the Hydras are slow, and Jaedong would be able to catch the Hydras. But he sacked 2 infestors there, fungled them, but lost the 2 infestors, which was so important for Symbol. While those units were fungled and the Infestors sacrificed themselves, Symbol was able to run his army. He sniped that fourth and got up the ramp into the third base. And now Jaedong's army is suddenly trapped outside of his own base, and Symbol has the high ground and is forcing Jaedong to come up a ramp to defend his own base. It was incredibly played out of Symbol. He baited that army to come down the ramp, did it beautifully, and took that game.
Yeah, I agree. The maneuvers from Symbol were really great that game. Let's see if Jaedong can bring it back, or Symbol's going to clear it out and make himself get into the IPL6 with their invitation and have everything paid for. Let's go ahead and jump into it after a commercial.